Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to welcome you to the Beta Sigma Virtual Hour. Sorry we're a little late. We were dealing with some technical issues, but I'm glad that we're here. We're ready to get started. And we're going to go ahead and get started. The first thing I wanted to talk about before we dive into our main topic is the importance of voting. I think that in our particular climate today, and considering what's going on during this time, um, voting is not only important but it's vital in the African American community, and just in typical in all individuals of color. I think that voting is one of the ways that you can participate in your democratic process. But not only that, um, there were so many things that our forefathers did to ensure that we had this right to vote. Um, I think that we kind of missed uh, a very important event that happened. I think it was on the 7th. I'm quite sure it was the 7th. It was the 6th. I'm sorry. It was the anniversary of the Voting Rights Act, and it was the 55th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. Um, the Voting Rights Act is extremely important. And the reason why it's important is because it not only eliminated uh, overt racism, but also racism that was embedded in certain things. It got rid of poll tax and grandfather clause, uh, literacy test, things that would kind of prevent individuals from being able to vote. I think that the Voting Rights Act is just one of the first steps that was set up for us to vote. However, I think that if you go back and look at the history of the reasoning why the Voting Rights Act had to be implemented, you would begin to make sure that individuals around you that are close to you would vote. Uh, Not only was it what it did was it eliminated those texts, but it also eliminated gerrymandering, whereas the black vote would be diluted. So instead of us being able to pick a representative that looked like us, we will be diluted in a heavily populated Caucasian group. And so what it did was it eliminated those things. What not eliminated, but it attempted to eradicate those things. And if you go back and do some research in the history of the Voting Rights Act, but just the history of voting for people of color, you will have a greater and deeper understanding of why it's important, why you should do it, and why you should encourage so many others to do so. I'm going to post a link where our chapter has an amazing opportunity for you to go, register to vote, check your status, all that kind of good stuff, all in one site. Okay, and so I want you to do that because I want you to be prepared early. Okay, I want you to know where you're supposed to go, know what you have to do, and have a game plan for either you're going to do early registration, excuse me, early voting, or if you're going to vote on that day. I want you to know where you're supposed to go, what you're supposed to do, and also do some research on who's going to be on your ballot. That's extremely important. Our local election and our national election is extremely important. And so your voice should be heard. Don't allow anyone to take away your voice. Don't allow what individuals may say. Your vote doesn't count. It's not that important. I don't like any of these individuals. You pick the best who's going to serve your interest. Okay. All right. And so I just wanted to drop that nugget with you. It was on my heart. It's been on my mind for a while that I wanted to talk to you all about the importance of voting, the importance of participating, and then get on some local committees, get on some local things, get on some local events, become a part of your local commissions. The state has commissions available for you. I just received an email that the Virginia Department of Education is looking for individuals to sit on their board. If you don't like what's going on in your school systems and you can't sit on on your school board, join a commission. They need you. They need your voice. Okay. They need a diverse population. Okay. And so vote. It's important. Participate. It's important. You have a voice. You have a responsibility. Your ancestors fought for it. Don't allow this opportunity to go to waste. All right. And so today, for this Sigma Virtual Hour, I'm excited because it's something that is important to me now. It wasn't very important to me earlier, but it's very important to me now, and that's health, fitness, and nutrition. Okay, I'm just going to give you just a brief outlook on who I am and what is the reason why I did this. I've always been a big guy. I was a 10-pound baby. Just always been a big guy. Always been a big eater. My family everybody can cook in my family. I can cook. It was just if something great happens, we eat. Something bad happens, we eat. If ain't nothing happening, we eat. And we eat good. Okay, we gonna throw down. And so, and that's both sides of my family. Like my mom's side, my dad's side. We both can cook. Everybody can cook. Everybody can eat. Okay. And when it came to certain ailments, you kind of say, "Oh, I inherited that," or my mama had that, my grandmama had that, or my granddad had that. And so, just because your parents had it, your forefathers had it, does not mean that you have to embrace that curse that can be on your life. And so, I was. At one time I was a size 74 suit. I was out of control with my eating, with my, drinking a soda, drinking not just a soda, but a 2-liter every day. I was out of control. And I had to realize that my life was extremely important. I also had to realize that I was addicted to sugar. Sugar is very addictive. Certain carbs are very addictive. And I really had to change my lifestyle. You can have a healthier lifestyle and live longer and not embrace those cultural diseases that we have. But if you embrace a healthier lifestyle, you may not have to have all 8 pieces of chicken. You can have a piece or 2. You don't have to eat the whole cake. You can have a slice. And then in some cases, you may want to have a healthier alternative to it. Ever since I decided that I was going to subscribe to a better lifestyle, my life has definitely changed. I'm no longer insulin dependent. Diabetes is no longer controlling my life. I can see better. I'm walking at least 3 miles every other day, and I feel better. I'm not snoring, not dealing with sleep apnea. My life has changed, and it was just making some simple changes in my life. And today, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about saving our next generation and how important that is. We have a nutritionist that's going to talk with us today about how to eat better, how to live better, what can we do to be better stewards of our bodies. And I think that's extremely important for all of us to do. Our next guest, she's going to be Miss Arlene McNair. She's going to talk about how to subscribe to a healthier lifestyle, what are the do's and don'ts of what you should and should not eat, how you should eat, and then maybe some quick tips on some things that you can prepare in the home. All right, so we have Miss McNair. She is our nutritionist, and we have Melody Dowdy. She's going to talk to us about diabetes care. And so, Miss McNair, what should we have on our plate every day?
Okay, when we talk about nutrition, we need to talk about just what you just said, what we need to eat every day.
Mm-hmm.
I know one of the pre-questions was how many calories I should have and that type of thing. But the amount of calories and energy you need from food depends on many factors.
Okay.
There is this online tool called the DRI calculator.
Okay.
And it will tell you your daily nutrient recommendations. And so I will give you that website. I will give you where you go to get that information.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go there, you enter your gender, your age in years and months. And some women may be pregnant or lactating, which means breastfeeding. You enter that, your weight in pounds, and it's your activity level. Are you sedentary, low active, or very active? So it's not a one size fits all as far as how many calories I need for the day. Many things factor in what you need in your diet from day to day.
And so if I eat a plate of pasta for lunch, okay, some Alfredo, should I say, okay, well, I'm not going to have any more carbs for that day? Should there be a limit on the amount of carbohydrates that I consume on a daily basis?
Yes, you should have a balanced diet.
Okay.
And what the government has done, every 5 years, scientists and the researchers get together and they formulate what they call the dietary guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And that generates 1,000 pages of reports and information.
Okay.
So that's good for researchers and scientists. But what about we consumers?
Exactly.
So what they do is about every 5 years, they put it into a format where we can use.
Mm-hmm.
Now, right now, I don't know if you've seen this before, My Plate. That's what you see a lot of.
Yes,
My Plate there. My Plate that. It's all over there. Over everywhere. Choose My Plate. Well, Choose My Plate is based on the dietary guidelines.
Okay.
So they took that 1,000 pages of report and all that paper, and they made it user-friendly for consumers. And that's what My Plate is.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at My Plate, you look at the vegetables, and they want you to make half your plate vegetables. Not fried vegetables, but steamed, sauteed, raw, roasted, or raw. That's what they want you to do. So and not with a lot of creamy sauces, because sauces add fat. And so fat, unfortunately, adds flavor. And most of us love fat.
That's
so we
right.
don't have a lot of fat in our diet. We need to cut back on them. So the vegetables we need to be sauteed, steamed, roasted, raw. Every now and then, of course, we want something fried, but not as the usual thing, that the way we prepare our foods. The other thing on My Plate is fruits. We should be consuming a lot of fruit. Even when we have juices, it should be 100% juice. Capri Sun is Kool-Aid. And a lot of our parents are giving our children Capri Suns. But that's just sugar and water. That's what that is. That's not 100% juice. So when we read our food labels, it should say 100% juice. And it's better to eat the raw fruit or if you have a blender to blend up the fruit. But if we do get it canned, or if we do get it in another type of container, try to get it packed in its own juice. You have to read labels. And there's a whole nother talk about reading labels. But you go on United States Department of Agriculture website, and it'll show you how to read labels. But if we're going to get the fruit, it should be packed in its own juice. I like pineapple with my oatmeal. So I make sure when I read the label, it says packed in its own juice. Now, they do sell it syrupy, and that's a lot of sugar, which we don't need in our diets.
Correct.
We need to be putting things 100% fruit juice. Things like Capri Suns and Huggies and those types of things, those are Kool-Aids. Those are not, and unfortunately, and some of that Tropicana stuff and some Hawaii, of course, Hawaiian Punch, you just have to read the label to see how much sugar it is. And if sugar or some form of sugar, honey, cornstarch, fructose, dextrose, something like that, if it's at the top of the ingredient label, that means it's really in the most abundance. And we need to stay away from those type of things. The other thing, we need to make half our plate grains. We need to eat whole grains. A lot of people don't like whole grains. You should be eating whole wheat breads, whole wheat cereals, whole wheat. That's what we need to. Brown rice instead of white rice. White rice has been bleached. We want all the good nutrition that the brown rice has because it's still there. Once they bleach the rice, all the good nutrition is taken out. A lot of our breads are enriched, and a lot of our cereals are enriched. So we need to make sure of that. Protein foods, we need to eat things like leaner meats, not so much of the fatty meats. Some people like their steaks, but make sure it's not so fatty, because that's not heart healthy when we eat things higher in fat.
Gotcha.
So leaner meats, the chicken breast, as opposed to the chicken thighs and legs. But okay, that's good. But if you're going to eat like that, balance it out. Another good thing we could be eating are nuts. Nuts are good protein source. Or legumes, those things that come out the ground and are in a pod. Lima beans, black-eyed, kidney beans, all of those are legumes because those are engulfed in a pod, and we have to open the pod to shell them. Those are good sources of protein. And then we have dairy. Whole milk, high in fat. 2% lower. I drink 1%. My children were raised on 2%. About 20 years ago, we switched to 1%. Now I can drink skim milk.
Okay.
So that's lower in fat. It's very important to cut the fat down. If you're lactose intolerant, then you can go to soy milk. Soy milk is approved by the United States Department of Agriculture. But there are other kind of things out there like the almond and coconut. It's not a lot of research on that. Soy products have been on the market for over 50 or 60 years. But some of the other things have not been. And I'm a breast cancer survivor, so I want some research behind what I eat.
So Miss McNair, we have a lot of mothers that are currently have their children at home for during this pandemic. What are some healthy options the mothers can make for lunch and for dinner for their kids?
Well, instead of so many oodles and noodles, because I know that's something fast, peanut butter sandwiches, popcorn with no butter is a good snack. Make sure it's the children aren't so young that it could be a choking hazard. So you don't want anybody, a young baby, to try to eat popcorn. Okay. It needs to be a child who can manage the, that shell that comes with the popcorn. So popcorn, A string cheese is a good snack. Yogurt. You can have regular yogurt. I eat plain yogurt, and then you can always add whatever flavor you want to. When you get the strawberry yogurt, the vanilla yogurt, and all that, that has more sugar in it.
Okay.
Cream cheese, crackers, yogurt, popcorn, peanut butter crackers that you make yourself. That type of thing is a good snack. And oftentimes, when we have young children at home, trying to feed them, our plates are too big. We might need to consider smaller plates for young children. And it used to be, well, you have to eat all of this. A lot of times, parents have battles with their children at the dinner table. You know, try to make it a fun place for the children to eat. You know, just give them smaller portions. Instead of giving one big portion, give them a quarter of what you normally would get and buy smaller plates. And make the dinner time or lunchtime a fun spot for them, not a battlefield.
Well, Miss McNair, many of us suffer with illnesses that include diabetes and high blood pressure. How can we make eating still fun and enjoyable, but more healthy, especially for those individuals with those ailments?
Right. One of the first things we must look at is our weight. Sometimes that is a factor, and sometimes it's family history.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes you can be 100 pounds and still have high blood pressure. Mm-hmm. So as family history plays a role, the genetics plays a role, weight plays a role. If you're carrying too much weight on you, then that's harder for your heart to pump the blood through your system, and that could be a problem. And being inactive, we need to get up and start moving. Walking around the neighborhood, or walk around in the house, or jump rope outside or something. We need to be more active. So those are some of the things that we can do. And then watch our sodium intake. A lot of people with high blood pressure are sodium sensitive. And you can find sodium in a lot of foods. Canned tomatoes, high in sodium. So that's why we all need to become nutrition label detectives and read labels, because we need to limit the amount of sodium we take in the course of a day.
Gotcha. What are some resources that we can go and look at so that we can become healthier individuals? Like, I know I have my card manager where, when I go to the store, I make sure that if I've got a question about it, I click on it so that they can tell me what's going on. So what are some resources that we can kind of connect to so that we can subscribe to this healthier lifestyle?
Okay. Choose My Plate is an excellent resource. Okay. They have a lot of resources, and your government tax dollars have are paying for a lot of those resources. Those are good free resources.
Gotcha.
Choose My Plate is a good place to go, and they have just tons of resources there. A lot of tips and a lot of fact sheets for the consumer. They have broken the dietary guidelines down into consumer-friendly messages, and that's an excellent place to go. But if you are looking for other nutrition information, I would be wary of places like General Nutrition Center and some of those other places. Mm-hmm. It's important that you search, if you're searching the internet, look for things with the edu at the end, or .org or .edu. A lot of those things are more credible. Some places will skew their health information because they're funded by certain organizations. If I'm the Sugar Association and I fund your research, you might skew your data and not really tell the truth about sugar. Correct. So you've got to be very careful about what sources of health information you access.
Gotcha. Miss McNair, we're all about making connections to individuals that have resources. Is there any, if someone has a question, or they want to find out more, or they're just confused, do you have like an email address or Instagram,
Yes.
Facebook?
Well, you can send me a message through you can email me. My email is Elizabeth
Mm-hmm.
MC 1991 at yahoo.com.
All right. Miss McNair, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your wealth of information with us. I feel healthier already. I'm not even going to eat these cupcakes.
All right, let's go.
Listen, I want to bring you back in January when we start this new fitness lifestyle. When we're excited about it, and we're trying to get off those Christmas pounds and those Thanksgiving pounds. Can you promise me you'll come back?
I will come back. Just you let me know ahead of time. I will put you on my calendar. I would be honored.
Pencil me in, please. Okay.
All right.
You have a I want to thank you so much for participating today, and you have an amazing day, Miss
Thank
McNair.
you so much. And I look forward to hearing from whoever wants more information. I'm there for the community.
Thank you so much.
Okay, then. Thank you. Bye bye now.
Bye bye. So, Miss Dowdy, I'm a diabetic, and I want to know, what should I do to monitor my blood sugar levels? Like, how should I monitor them? Should I just base it on how I feel, what I'm feeling at that time, or is there something that I should be doing to ensure that my diabetes is definitely in check?
One main thing that you could do, what you should do and always do, is check your insulin level through your glucometer. You can go to your primary care provider, endocrinologist, and prescribe you a glucometer, and they could tell you how your sugar is ranging throughout the day. It all depends on how severe your diabetes is, that you need to check that morning, especially in the morning, midday, and at night.
Well, let's just back up. Some people don't even know the signs of diabetes. What are some of the signs?
Um, Being extremely thirsty,
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, cold and clammy,
Mm-hmm.
sweating, uh, voiding a lot, uh,
Voiding,
peeing.
explain that.
When you pee a lot,
Okay.
you are your body's flushing that urine out of your system, and sometimes people who are diabetic fall in the phrase in the pathways of being dehydrated. So when you're dehydrated, when you have dehydration problems, that's because your body is absorbing or trying to push out that water. So that's one main factor that's very important about that's it. Sometimes people have a funny taste in their mouth. Sometimes people are sweating, tired, lethargic, tachycardia, fast heart rate beats, things of that nature. And you don't have to. Some people think because you have to be a big person to be diabetic, and that's far from the truth. There are skinny people, so-called skinny people, who are diabetic. So don't think because you're skinny that you can't be diabetic.
And why does this disproportionately affect the African American community?
I think it deals with our eating habits. We eat a lot of bread. If it's a sandwich, and you can. That's easy. It's quick. It's affordable. It's you eat pasta. You can make growing up, you can make a bowl of spaghetti, and that lasts you a couple of days with that garlic bread, and that will hold you. Rice, and those things are things that what our body craves for. I tell people often that diabetes is like a person who on drugs, or an alcoholic who craves that alcohol. It is that same type of thing. So same type. It's almost the same type of craving.
Mm-hmm.
It is very habitual. You can what's the Tribe Called Quest, the gentleman who passed away because he was diabetic. He talked about how he will wake up in the morning or in nighttime craving sugar.
Yeah.
That's what your body wants.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with a person who's an alcoholic. They crave that. They crave that alcohol because it's a mental thing. It's a stomach thing.
So how do we break this addiction? It
takes time. This is not a 1 month cycle. This takes it maybe takes years to. Once you become diabetic, it does not technically go away. It's always there. You just have to be mindful on what to do to prevent it from coming back again. I mean, you want your A1C to be under 6. So if a person who's diabetic and their A1C is 10.1 and they gradually get down to 6 or to 8, that's great because that takes time. That could take a year or two. But it also comes back to that great nutritionist who we just left. It's about eating, it's about exercising, it's about taking that instead of wanting pasta, changing that and then putting something else to crave that. So you can almost trick your mindset to say, well, I don't need that. I'm gonna use this. Or I'm gonna drink water with lemon to help make me full so I won't have to want that pasta or that rice or whatever it is. It could be a honey bun. It could be a Snicker bar. It could be some gummy bears. It could be something sweet, starch. It doesn't matter.
So can I replace the gummy bears with a cup of grapes?
Grapes, no. So you have to be mindful of that because grapes are extremely sweet, and that's you can't use really grapes. You're really not supposed to eat strawberries. Not really supposed to eat watermelon because that is a natural sweetener. So you have to be mindful of the certain fruits that you want to have because it's a sugar, and that your body may heighten your A1C, your sugar scores. So you have to be mindful of that.
Gotcha. And so I have Mr. Patrick McMillan here.
Hi, Mr. Patrick.
He is a fitness instructor. He's sideways. Yeah, but he's a fitness. And so both of you are, Mel, you talk often about fitness. I know people looking at us thinking like, how y'all brothers and sisters, but
right, no, that's not.
We are related. This is my sister. Yeah, she's a health nut. I am not. I just got on the bandwagon here recently.
Baby
steps. But diabetes, high blood pressure, one of the main things that we could do to kind of regulate it is have a exercise regimen. Is that correct, Patrick?
Yes. Well, to follow up on, and I'm sorry I didn't catch the young lady who was speaking before me.
Melody.
Okay. Yes. What Melody was saying is actually a lifestyle. She was quite correct when she said that this is not a thing that happens in a week, a day, or anything like that. And it's actually a great segue into what I was going to say. You talked about disproportionate, these things affecting people of color disproportionately. And actually, the CDC has been tracking this since 2011 with the health disparities and inequalities reports, which have identified ways to mitigate the risks that we face as African Americans and minorities. So one of those things, as she hit on, was the ability for us to have natural and healthy foods, which is something that's basically lacking in our community. Another thing was exercise, and that's a huge part. And I've been, my background is I went to school for exercise science. I've actually been certified through United States Olympic Weightlifting Council, NSCA, as well as BFS. And with that, for over 22 years, been working with athletes and people that want to have better performance or improve their health. So it's I guess fire away. Any questions you have, I'm here to answer.
So we're home during the pandemic. We need some home exercises. Either one of you all can tell us, what can we do at home with our families that can make us subscribe to this healthy lifestyle?
Well, the first thing is you have to look at any successful fitness program. It needs to contain 3 components. Those 3 components are endurance, which is the aerobic component. You need to have the strength component, which usually comes from some form of resistance training, as well as the most overlooked part, which is flexibility. We'll go out and we'll walk, we'll do push-ups, we'll do sit-ups, we'll weight train, but we don't like to stretch. We don't like to do dynamic movements, which in turn help our joints. We know that short, stiff muscles limit joint movement, which further make us prone to injury. So, and we also have to look at variety. You know, I know one of the questions that people often say is they're tired of walking, you know, or walking is become mundane and boring. Mm-hmm. Well, there are things that you can do that incorporate each one of those components that we talked about. Something as simple as, I know several places are having sales on bicycles. The family coming together and riding bikes. Before you know it, you have already spent 30 minutes to an hour of riding, okay? And the physical activities guide for Americans states that we need 150 minutes of moderate physical activity a week for adults and adolescents, okay? Or 75 minutes of vigorous physical activity per week. And then they recommend that children get, and you may have heard the Play 60 initiative from the NFL, mm-hmm. All right, it's recommended that children be active for a minimum of 60 minutes per day.
Gotcha.
Okay. You know, the great thing, I'm gonna piggyback off that. The great thing about children doing 60 minutes is that by the time you do 60 minutes and get them in the shower and eat, hopefully you'll warn them out so they can go to bed. And then you can
but that's a good question. How much should I exercise a week?
Well, and I'm going to say this, and then Patrick can piggyback on me. I'm not huge on, especially beginners who are not really a fan of exercising, to go out there and want to sweat hard for the first week for 60 minutes, because that's crazy. Because then by the following week, you're gonna be tired, you're gonna be stiff, and you're not gonna want to do it anymore. It all depends on the individual. If you have elderly people, I tell them to, when the commercial is on, get up, run upstairs, do some leg lifts, go to the kitchen, and by the time you come back, you would have done, if you do that for a 30-minute segment, you would have had at least exercise for 4 minutes. With kids and parents, I tell them, put the food in a crock pot and go outside and kick the ball around, or do something fun like that, because you're burning calories more than anything. That's you're burning calories and your body's getting used to it, and then that will help. Patrick's right about the stretching. You guys, when it's raining outside, because it's been raining crazy lately, and you can't get outside, you can all lay on the family room floor and the bedroom floor and do a circle and try to touch each other's toes. And that helps with the muscle stretching. I tell people about when you put a cold steak in the oven, you know how that fat and that grease starts to separate. That's the same thing with our muscles. Once our muscles warm up, the fat, which is the lactic acid, separates, and it helps and it keeps us mobile and it stretches. And those are some great things to that would help. So that
pole dancing competition that we have at the house is beneficial.
The pole dancing class is in the twerking class, whatever it takes.
Yeah. High kicks, all that stuff.
If you gotta get a pole, get a pole.
Mm-hmm.
Get that WD-40 out and lube it, and let's go.
So, what are some things that you can suggest that on going out that would be beneficial to us? Just in summary, what can we do during this pandemic to make sure we live a healthier lifestyle and get our minutes in?
All right, Patrick.
Okay, make it like she had great points. The biggest thing is to move. Movement is key. You have to look at certain people, and there is. I really like her approach when she addressed individuals, because we get caught up on cookie cutter programming and working out, and everybody comes to us with a varied level of fitness. Some people have been physically active their whole lives. Some people have never gotten off the couch except for to go to the refrigerator. So putting a person in an exercise program where the intensity is too high or too low can still be risky, because of the fact that everybody has a target heart rate. You need to also assess people for their pre-existing physical and conditioning. We don't believe every individual has to pretty much be analyzed, risk assessment, and the risk has to be mitigated as much as possible. Because if you take a person that has been sedentary and you place them into high intensity activity, then you may do more harm than good. And I also like what she said, the reference about the steak. I have a reference I use as well about warming up and getting the blood flowing through the body, where we say, if you take a rubber band, it's room temperature, it's pliable. You can stretch it, you can move it around. If you take that same rubber band and you place it in a refrigerator and you try to stretch it, you're going to have some problems because it wasn't properly warmed up. The same thing with the body. The body has a wonderful adaptability. It's called homeostasis. It's always trying to go back or revert back to its well state of being. Exercise comes in and it's going to have an effect where the heart rate is going to increase, blood flow is going to increase, but the effects of doing that, if from a cardiovascular standpoint, can be great. You'll actually find that some people will lower their blood pressure just from getting out and being more active, where they were being sedentary and high blood pressure, as she spoke on before, diabetes. And she was also correct about that being, you can manage it, but as far as saying, okay, I'm not going to have diabetes anymore or anything like that, you have to be careful with that. And I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I know that you had you had asked me something about the waist trainers and people wearing these things, these corsets that contour the body or promote spot reduction. And there's actually some studies that have gone out. And in short, the answer is no, they're not effective. There's a Dr. Gina Sam, who's a gastroenterologist and a medical director at Mount Sinai, who studied these people and found that basically that it's dehydrating. They can cause shortness of breath, nausea, fainting, and bruising. And at the end of the study, they collectively found that companies and celebrities were taking advantage of their clients' insecurities.
Right.
You know, there's nothing that can replace good old exercise. And one thing we try to say is, I want exercise to be my prescription as I grow older. You know, I don't want to have a closet full of medicine, and that's not to discourage anybody from taking their prescriptions by any means. I have to disclaim that. But you know, do what you can do. Be active now. We're in this time like we've never seen before with COVID, and people are more sedentary than they've ever been. But if you follow safety guidelines and you and your family are as active as you can be, not only will that benefit you physically, but it'll do wonders for your mental state too. Your anxiety, depression, your worry. You know, that the exercise creates and releases endorphins that make us feel good.
Right.
And that's oftentimes after we have a vigorous workout. You know, the hardest part we say is making it to the gym, or putting on those shoes and going out for the walk, or as she said, going out in the backyard and kicking the ball around. the hardest part is in taking the initiative to do it. Once you get going, you realize you're having so much fun. And after it's over, you sit at the table, have a meal with your family, and everybody has enjoyed themselves. So.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I tell people, if you are if your father is shaped like a Mack truck and your mom shaped like a Volvo, you're not gonna be shaped like a pencil. That's
Correct.
Those genetics are not gonna match.
Absolutely.
You gotta love yourself.
Well,
absolutely.
We are running out of time. I was trying to get Dr. Donaldson in, but we have 1 minute. Patrick, tell us how we can reach you, and Melody, tell us how we can reach you. If we have any questions or we want to work out with you, let me know.
Okay.
You got 10 seconds.
Okay, I have a lot of time right now. I work with a lot of Division I athletes that are going to college and things like that. But I don't want that to intimidate people from reaching out for help, because I've worked with everyone from people who are sedentary to people that are professional athletes. So patmac93@yahoo.com. My good frat brother here knows how to get in contact with me. Get with him. I'll do my best to answer any questions you may have. And I've really enjoyed this opportunity.
Thank you. And Mel, she has 5,000 email addresses, but I think one is maildowdy@gmail.com.
Yes, or they can just get in contact with you.
Okay.
Like always.
Thank you all. I have less than a minute left. Next month, we'll be here September 21st, and we'll talk about education in the pandemic.